I'm going to be turning soon. I wanted to start out saying, in my long and varied life, I've just been associated with so many good groups, and you guys, you're up there at the top, one or two, a solid three for sure. Well, anyway, that said, I want to tell you, I am as nervous as a pregnant nun. And in case you think I'm not Catholic and I'm dissing the Catholics, I'm not. I used to teach in a Catholic high school, and the nuns were my best buds. And they would have just had a riot laughing at that joke. So there we go. But anyway, we shall see how we get through all of this. But since I was a teacher, I thought I would make a visual aid to talk about some of the ins and outs of inside outing. And I noticed that there are not very many inside out pieces that come through for any kind of presentation. And I just wondered what do you think? What's up with that? Why don't you do inside outers?
Tried it once.
What's that?
Tried it once.
I got a fix for that. Anybody else?
I have trouble visualizing what it's going to look like when I turn it back around.
Yeah, I think that's pretty accurate.
Yeah.
Play with it a little bit, but
Okay. Well, maybe this will help you out a bit. I do want to say I got interested in inside out turning watching the Papa 1947. And of course, he did an ornament, but it was so cool because here he did this thing and then turned it around and he ended up with something. It's sort of like when you go to a stadium and there's an artist up there and he's painting something that looks like nothing. And when he's done, he turns it over and you've got a photograph. Actually, you can take a photo, it looks so good, it looks like someone took a picture. And that to me is sort of like the feeling of an inside out, that you start out with something that's kind of nondescript, but when you get done, then you've got something, and you've got something that you had to visualize it and follow it through. So I wanted to point out a couple of things about that visualizing, and this will be one of them. You can see that I have carved or I've turned in this piece of wood some of the shapes you'd get with an inside out. You're either going to do an inside curve, a long curve, or a reverse curve. And so when you do that, you picture like what would happen with this one right here? All right, well, that's got an inside curve, and then it's got that curve, but that curve can be made on the outside. So really, you only have to be concerned with getting that curve right there. And of course, the way you do that is when you put this between centers, you're going to cut into it. And if you really want to see what it's going to look like when you see the whole thing, you can reverse it. And of course, you can reflect it in your own mind, whatever it is you're looking at, just reflect it upward. If it's this, then it's going to look like that. If it's this one, then when you turn it over, it's going to look like that. Whatever's going on here is on the inside. So that's one thing to do. And you can even make a little form if you want that will help you keep track of what this is going to look like on the inside when you're done. Another thing that you can do is that if you all of the action of course happens along an edge. And if you look at this, here's the edge. It goes to there and comes back to an edge. The edges are going to be, they're going to meet when you turn this around. So you usually have four pieces that when you turn them around, you're going to reverse them. So what's out here in here is going to now be on the outside. And you can do that with 4 pieces, and the numbering 1, 2, 3, 4, that is optional, really. They all are going to be the same, but I can tell you if you don't number them, you might have a few well, duh moments because it's easy to get them mixed up. I also put a little arc in the corner of each one, the outside corner, because then when it's turned around properly, it's going to make a circle in the middle.
Patsy, do you ever do any of those that there are more than 4 or fewer than 4?
I've never done one of those. I saw somebody, and maybe it was the Papa, do a 6 piece, but I've not tried anything other than 4. And one thing I do try is this is a solid piece, and I could use this. I would just, after I'd uh, done my turning on the inside, I would take it to the bandsaw and cut this into 4 pieces. It's all set for that. So if you start with 4 pieces, number them 1, 2, 3, 4. If you start with a solid piece, you're going to cut it, but make sure you've got it numbered so you don't lose track of where you are.
I assume you're going to show us how you hold them together.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so let's see what else in here. Another thing that I do is in deciding how this is going to look, I draw pencil lines. So I want this inside curve to go from about here to here. So I've drawn the pencil lines for that. And then since this is one of the few places that I can get uh, an intersection with glue, then I leave a space between those. Otherwise, you end up with something like this one, which is totally open and it's only glued together at the top and the bottom. And glue is pretty strong, and you can do some okay things with that and it won't fall apart. But if you're worried about it, just try to make sure that you leave something in the middle of the thing. And then you've got a place to that you can glue together. And then you can carve this um, with the tools, of course. Now you notice right here it's flat. I did that with the parting tool because I want at the end of this, I want to sit something on it. And I want that place where it's sitting to be flat. So I just take the parting tool and make uh, whatever depth of hole I think I need. This one was about a 1/2 inch, so it would give me an inch where it's flat, and something that's about an inch wide would sit flat on it. If I need something bigger, something wider than that, I just keep going with it. And then, of course, carving here, um, I need to know, very important, I need to know how deep I can go. Now, when I started out, I would make a little template. So I want a curve that looks like this. So I would make that template, but I found it was very hard to compare it as I was going along because, this is full of wood. So there's no way I can put it down through there. So I thought, well, I know how big I can make that. Maybe I should look at it the other way. How much do I need to leave? How much can I cut away will automatically happen. If I know how much to leave, then I can mark that accurately and cut to that point. So I always figure out where my lowest point is. And in this one, this is the lowest point. And I wrote down what the formula would be for figuring that. And then I simplified it. So here it is, redneck algorithm. Take the length of the side, add 1, and multiply it by zero point 0.4. And I'm sure you recognize that the zero point 0.4 comes from 1.414, which is what you have to have with an isosceles triangle's hypotenuse. Yeah. So zero point 0.4 gives you a very good estimation. Now this one, let's see, it's 3 5/8 inches. I'm sorry, it's 2 5/8 inches. It's 3 5/8 inches, and that's 0.625. And I've added 1, and then I multiplied that by zero 0.4, and I get 1.85. So that tells me that I need to leave about 1 7/8 inches right here. And usually I leave a little more than whatever it says here, because then that gives me a little more room for smoothing something out. I can tell you I have before cut too far, and then you just have to throw the piece away. So leave yourself a little leeway. For this one, I just marked it at 2 inches. So this circle represents where I would stop cutting from the top. Roger?
I think once you start doing it, it'll make more sense.
Okay. Well, there are a lot of ins and outs to this, but
Did you mention that you were a math teacher?
no, they don't need to know that. Um, let's see, what else on this? Okay. One thing that you can do as you're going along, when you stop and look at it, and I will point this of course is mounted between centers. So you can look at this edge very easily, just, turn it so that you're looking at the edge. And what is close to you here is going to be on the inside when you turn it around. And what is furthest away from you here is going to be on the outside when you turn it around. So close is in, far out. And that will help you to keep yourself grounded as you're going along there. Let's see. Now I want it to look like this, so that's going to stop here, and so on. And you can keep an eye on things.
We haven't done it.
It's actually it's a lot of words, explaining it takes a lot of words, but when you're actually doing it, you begin to see it falls in place, what you need to find, and so on. So, any other questions, comments before I get back there and start looking at a real piece?
You had 3 5/8. That's the biggest piece of the pipe. What is
Yeah, I measured the length of the side, and then I added 1 to it.
That's back. It's the smallest. That's the smallest that you can go with it.
The 2 inches should be the smallest that you go. You can go 1 7/8, but I would leave some wiggle room.
Got it. Thank you.
Mhm.
I think another part of the challenge should be to keep all of your practice pieces. Let's see.
And we could have a bonfire. It would be fun. October is a great month for bonfires.
Nancy, can you hand me that piece right there?
Which one? The owl? Yeah.
What you're saying is if when you do your equation, if I go too deep, these aren't going to be able to touch,
Right.
right?
They will be gone. It'll just be gone.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, this one was one of the first ones that I did before I figured out this decide how much you need to leave rather than how much to take away. And you can see how thin that is. I did not intend for that to be that thin. In fact, there was a whole great big bottom to this. And I'm just, shaving along and everything's fine. And all of a sudden it sounds funny. And I'm thinking, that doesn't sound right. Well, when I stopped the lathe, I just about cut through that. So I thought, okay, I've got to change that now. So I just cut off the bottom and shaped those into feet. And it worked out well. But that was when I decided I needed a different system for figuring out how deep I could go. And usually, when I figure out how deep I can go, I find where that lowest place is going to be. I use the parting tool to go to that, measure it to make sure I'm there, and then I can proceed to take out what I need to take out for the inside.
It's your max limit.
Yeah, max limit. Okay. All right. It will be turning, so you can move that back. All right, so I don't know how well you can see this, but this is the block of wood we're starting with, and I wrote dimensions on it. This is 2 3/4 is the length of this, so I added 1. That's 3 3/4, and I multiply by 0.4, and I get 1.5. So I can go 1.5 deep with this. In fact, I will probably go a little bit less than 1.5. I mean, I'll go like 1 5/8 or something rather than, yeah, yeah. So let's see, got my parting tool. I'm going to measure with this.
Only thing you've got holding those tape.
Actually, there is tape between these. Oh, yes, thank you. There's tape between these. I'll show you that when we've cut this. I'll rip it apart and you can see the tape that's inside. And then I put the strapping tape on the end. I'll tell you that this is the tape Randy recommended. I'll pass it around, and this is the strongest tape I have ever encountered in my life. So if you're worried about something hanging together, you don't have to worry about it with that tape. In fact, after I got that and I realized what it did, I quit putting the strapping tape on.
Double faced.
Yeah, double face tape.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah, the brand's on there.
It's inside.
Yes. Where I got mine.
Before I cut this, I do want to point out something that inside outs are kind of, at least for me, notorious for. They will chip as they come around because you're hitting an edge after going through almost all air. And with a sharp tool like the blunt tool of a parting tool, it will chip out. And if you look at any of those, you'll see some that have around where all 4 pieces should come together, they'll have a little hole in them. And that's where a piece chipped out. So what I usually do to begin is I, of course, mark where I'm going to cut, where I'm going to put my first curve, and then I use a gouge to clean that area, smooth it out so that now I can put a sharp, blunt tool on it, like the parting tool, and take it from there. So that's the first thing that I do. And I go about 1,000. If you go slower, you got more blank space. You go faster, it seems like you've got less blank space.
We use this fact.
Now that I have now that I have a smoother area that won't have such an impact on or have such a shock on impact, I can use my parting tool. Let's see. This one, I don't know where I set my little candlestick, but the bottom of the candlestick has, of course, a candle sitting on it. So I want it a little bit flat. It's only maybe 3/8 of an inch because a candlestick is about 3/4 of an inch. So I just make a very small indent on this end where that candlestick is going to sit. Up here is where I'm going to go to the max of 1.5, leaving 1.5. Mhm. I'll tell you one thing I do is this is 1.5. I hope I just did it. Yeah. So I look at it here to see how much I'm probably going to take away right there. That's about as deep as I can go. And if I don't, and I'll stop. I like to stop and look at what's happening anyway. But when I stop, then I will measure and see how much further I need to go. For this one, I'm going to go just 3/8 down, is all I'm going to do. Okay. Just a tiny bit more. Okay. Now I'm going to try and go till I get to that depth. A little bit more. All right, I'm good. Remember, I said I like to leave a little bit, so I don't want it to slip all the way down it, and it's just at the sides. So that sounds good to me. Now, the reason that I put this here, this separation, is because I want to make a curve like that, and I need a place for my tool to go into, because I'm going to make that curve with this tool. And when I come down, I don't want to blow the end off or, jerk my tool around, which it happens. But
And if you were making that, the center, then you, that deepest point.
right, right. So if I were going to do that on this side, I would put my deep point right here and then cut down to it. All right, I've made the curve pretty much smooth, about as smooth as I can for this part. And I guess I was thinking you're not going to learn a whole lot from watching me turn. And I call my style of turning something that I've heard in the sports world. You know, have you ever heard of a team winning ugly?
Yeah.
I spin ugly. I'm spitting ugly, I guess. No, I try to be safe. I follow the rules, and sometimes I don't get it at the right angle until I try a couple things, or I go too fast, or I go too slow, or I'm too high or too low. But somehow it works out.
You ever use this?
Oh, yeah. I've used, yeah, on this, yes, you can use a skew. In fact, a skew would be real nice to finish this little curve right here. Now, the next thing you do when you feel like you're done with this, and I'm pretty close to being done, I've got a little flat space where my candle can sit. This curve is coming out so that it's going to go like that when I get, well, you can see, you know, if you look at this, if you look at that, then reflect it up and it would look like that. And so that's the fluting that I'm going for. So this is pretty much it. Yeah, there it is right there. The flutes come out and there's space in the middle. Okay, now the next thing you would do is to sand this. And if this were the kind of piece that you couldn't get back into the center, you should put finish on it as well. But this one is going to be open, so I know I can do that. But I will, you know, I'll do a little bit of sanding just to keep myself honest here. And this thing is so heavy. I hadn't expected that. It is. It's very smooth. Yeah, any man would love to have one of these. All right, so we don't have to go quite so fast. There. And uh, you can go, you know, the 80, 120, 180, 240, 320, 400 if you want. I'm just doing whatever this one is. So it'll have to do. Now, I'm not going to do any more sanding because you know all about the sanding. And since I can come back to this later, I'm going to leave it like that. Now, the fun part. Yes.
When you're pushing on the slotting, and that so you can put it.
You might want to put it in a chuck right now, but don't. Because when you turn it around, what's going to happen to your tenon? If you don't make a tenon, if you have a big enough chuck and you put this in square, you know, and just settle it, that'll work. But don't put a tenon in. No tenons. Not yet.
Looks to me like you could put a pin in it as long as you.
Oh, sure. Yeah. If you don't need the extra, then yeah.
If you've got
Yeah. I've never had a problem doing it this way, that kind of problem. Um, but I have put it in the chuck before as square and then just situated it so it was even. all the way around. All right, now let's. All right, now I said this was the fun part. I'm leaving that there because when I turn it around, I want to be able to put the tailstock in it again. And this turned around is still going to be a square. Yeah. So,
If you did work on a chuck part of it off, you probably should make a width mark so that you know
here.
which piece you know where. What I'm saying, if you were going to put this in a chuck, uh, when you want to make a witness mark here, so you would know exactly what piece is where, and you could sand those off.
Um, yeah, you already have the numbers
Oh,
here.
that is
Yeah.
right.
So,
You don't need to worry about that.
right. So this end will take care of itself.
Okay. Yeah, I
Yeah, I'm just passing it around.
All right. Okay, there's that off. Mostly. This is another reason that it's nice not to use the strapping tape anymore. Mm, it really left a lot. Okay.
My knife here.
All right. Now, usually I do this from the end that is not the top because this can leave a mark and take out a little bit of your tail of the square there. Okay. This is Randy's tape. So, Randy, do you want to come up here and do this? I do. Yep.
I called myself like 60 bridge.
You are correct there.
Yeah, you don't want to use that kind.
Well, the advantage to that kind of tape is that it will not let go when you're turning. You can see, it's on the sides. Got some.
yeah, non-headache.
I used to use carpet tape, and that works pretty well. I had some regular two-sided heavy-duty tape, and that worked pretty well. This stuff is amazing. Oh, usually I do a better job than that. I remember I'm nervous, so
We're all what really.
yeah. Now, would anyone like to try their hand at putting this back together the way it's supposed to go? No takers? No guts, no glory. All right. There's a 1 and there's an arc. So let me find a 2. There's a 2. Oh, arc's in the wrong place. Keep going. Okay. 4 is next to 1. And let me just get that right there. And there's 3. Okay. There's what I'm going to turn now. Now, you would glue this together, and do your clamps and all of that. I always wait overnight, although they say you can do glue after, a couple of hours. I've never tried that. I guess too chicken. I just don't want to take a chance on it coming apart. But that's what is going to get turned. And this, I went ahead and rounded it because, everybody knows how to round. You don't need to do anything special to round this. I used a spindle, yeah, the roughing gouge, which is not in my bag for some reason, but just about 1 inch wide, so nice big gouge to cut that off. And then there you can see my numbers. And of course, there's what we just cut out. So my way of thinking, that's one of the hard things, is getting that tailstock in there where it belongs.
Like the handle close to the very solid.
All right. Yeah, I could just forget this part, but I think I'll go ahead and do it. How close? Now, the bottom of where I originally cut is right there, and I've got a separation in this design that I can see. But I'm going to go ahead and put a pencil mark so that I know that I don't want to go any higher than that. All right. I'm going to start here with taking the extra out of this, and then I can shape the bottom into the candlestick part of it. All right. I told you I like to stop often. When I'm carving something like this, I definitely don't want to go through, don't want to go too deep. So I stop and take a look at how much more material there is. I want at least 1/8 of an inch left. And I've got about a quarter. Sometimes you can kind of see how much you have left. Since there's an opening, you can see through.
To give them that's pretty thin. Again, wouldn't it be safer to have that and stock in it? Because I'd be concerned.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I could have, since I had rounded this, I could have put it in a chuck, but I didn't bring one with me and figuring I was going to finish it like this. So maybe for safety's sake, I'll just stop pretty quick here and shape this bottom part. And then we can all go home. Yeah.
Well, you go ahead. Got another question on the pump station. You're gonna park that off.
But yes, that'll be like the last thing. Yeah. In fact, a lot of times I part this off with the parting tool and just finish it. This time I'm only going to cut a furrow in it and then saw it off. That's a lot safer. And I don't have to catch it then, or John doesn't have to catch it from across the garage.
Thank you for the stop. Thank you.
Yeah. I brought a carbide with me. I know a lot of you don't use carbides, and I use them. I had to actually force myself to start using the gouges because this is so easy to use. And I really like it. The only thing is, it gives you a lot of tear out. So then you have to go back with the gouge or a lot of sandpaper and smooth it out. But this is one place where a gouge is really or the carbide's really handy, because all I want to do is to slim that down, and this is easy to move in a slimming down way. So, to all of us carbide users, unite. Now I'm going to smooth it out a bit. Mm. How are we doing for time?
Clock.
Okay, I'm not sure how long I should go. I said I would not do any more there, and I think, in the interest of time, I'm just going to do a little sanding. I can get it more to that shape when I get it home and put it down. So, anyway, this is going to be the next thing. Let's just imagine it looks like the twin of that. And I'm going to do a little sanding, and then I'm going to part this off. Yeah, I think that's enough. All right. Well, There it is, such as it is. All right. Anybody have any questions, comments, suggestions? So, do you feel up to the challenge?
Yeah, I do. You could put a little tea light in one of those, couldn't you?
Yes. In fact, I've got a tea light in one. Yeah.
So you probably for your idea.
I just, yeah.
No, she's a true artist.
Right on way.
Yeah, okay.
I can make things with the lathe and a tool. I cannot draw anything. Can't draw a thing.
I get it, right there with you.
Anyway, I made several different things. If you need an idea for something to make, and maybe I can tell you how I did it, and that'll give you a good start on something.